Hi guys, Overarch here, and today I'm going to give you guys some quick mech building tips for BattleTech. So BattleTech has come out recently, and I've been absolutely enjoying the multiplayer and enjoying building my mechs on it and running all kinds of custom lances and cool mechs. This is mainly for multiplayer. I'm not really going to touch on the campaign too much. So first of all, let's get some shorthand I'm going to be using out of the way a little bit. DPT. Damage per ton. And this is essentially the measure of how efficient a weapon is in terms of tonnage. So let's now talk about the classes of weapons. First off, you have energy weapons, lasers. So these have the highest damage per ton, but they also generate by far the most heat, and they do almost no stability damage, meaning they're not good for knocking mechs over. Next we have missiles. So missiles are middle of the line in terms of DPT, weight, and heat generation. However, they're very inflexible in terms of range. LRMs are useless at close range, and the opposite is true for SRMs. They deal the most stability damage, however, which right now is really king in multiplayer. Their damage is distributed over many parts, so it's ineffective for focusing fire or sniping out specific sections of the mech. And the ammunition is volatile, so if the ammunition is destroyed, it basically destroys the entire section of the mech that it's in. Next we have ballistics. So ballistics have the lowest DPT. They're very heavy, but they also have very low heat generation. And while they do have low DPT, they usually apply damage to a single or only a few parts of the enemy mech, meaning there's a good chance they will destroy what they hit, as opposed to lasers and missiles, which spread their damage over a wider area. Like missiles, ballistic ammo is volatile. So the first thing we're going to be looking at when we start building our custom mechs is the hardpoint distribution and space. This is important because just because a mech has the hardpoints to mount weapons doesn't mean it can mount all those weapons. In fact, you oftentimes have mech chassis that, even though they have the same number of hardpoints, have more options. An example of this is the King Crab and Stalker. So both are assault mechs, both have 4 missile hardpoints. However, the King Crab has all of those missile hardpoints in one location, so it can only carry up to 2 LRM-20s, whereas the Stalker could mount up to 4 because they're spread across different locations on the mech. So that's just something to consider. You know, which chassis, how many options are you going to have in terms of loadout on each chassis? For mounting weapons, the first thing I do is I manage my heat generation. So what I do is I like to mount lasers up until I start to have some heat issues, then fill out any extra tonnage with missiles, ballistics, or heat sinks. And this is great because it means that I'm maximizing the damage that mech is going to be able to do within the limits of its heat. If you just mount energy weapons, even though they're most efficient per ton, they are by far the least efficient in terms of heat. So it's kind of a trade-off. Next up is that lights should mount a lot of armor and longer range weapons if they can. The idea being is that you don't want to loot your light in melee. An example of this is if you're running... an exception to this is if you're running a sensor lock boat. Basically, light mechs are really vulnerable to melee. You don't want them up close and getting punched in the face. I usually use them to try to strip evasion off of enemies before I hit them with, my heavy hitters. Another thing to consider is that armed weapons get a slight accuracy bonus, but are obviously more exposed to damage. I like to place my heaviest hitting weapons on the arms, but I've heard, different design philosophies on this. Some people like to put them in the torso or even on, head, for example, just because they're less likely to be destroyed there and hopefully will stick around longer to do more damage. Weapons placed on the head and center torso are relatively safe, since the mech dies if you lose these. If you would lose these slots anyway, so it doesn't matter that they've been destroyed. Ugh, I can't talk today. Yeah, so basically, center torso, head. If you lose either of those two, the mech's dead. So it doesn't matter that you have a weapon there. You don't have to worry about the weapon being taken out because the mech's already dead. Next is place ammo with the weapon that uses it. That way, that weapon can only be disabled by destroying one section, rather than having 2 locations that, if destroyed, would disable the mech. The one exception to this rule is center torso and head weapons. You don't want volatile ammo placed in this spot, as that'll destroy the mech should it take a critical hit. And it can destroy the mech a turn or two early. You know, at that point you already have the armor stripped off, so the mech's not long for the world anyway, but there's no reason to assist the enemy in blowing up your mechs. You may also need to break this rule to make space for additional weapons. This is kind of a judgment call, but for the most part, yes, place your ammunition with the weapon that uses it. Next up is don't mount volatile things into a light's legs. If a light or even a medium loses its mobility, it might as well be dead. Losing one leg isn't that bad. Losing both legs is really bad. Just something to consider. I try to keep ammunition out of the legs of my mechs. Consider reducing armor on the rear of your mechs. Be careful though, as this can make you a bit of a glass cannon. This is really great for longer range mechs, as it's easier for them to keep angled towards the enemy, so they don't have to worry about getting flanked as much. Whereas if you have a brawler that's up close, the enemy might be able to swing around behind you in a single turn and hit that very weak light armor. But this, frees up some tonnage, lets you mount a little bit more deadly of weapons. Next up is that jump jets don't suck on most maps, and can even give long-range support mechs a surprise death from above melee attack against that annoying light mech that's closing in on them. I've had this happen several times, where a commando or locust has closed in with my big heavy mech and my big heavy fire support catapult, and suddenly boom, death from above, and the locust is now splatted. Speaking of that, make sure your fire support mechs have something for short-range self-defense. Nothing sucks more than being unable to damage that annoying locust nipping at your heels and slowly killing your mech. It's the worst. So as always guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit, and if you have your own mech building tips, please leave them down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Bye.